Today we're driving through Pacific Drive. This horror survival game takes a genre to a new level. Can these driving skills keep us all interested, or is this a car crash you just can't look away from? Well, let's find out right here on the First 30 Podcast. Thank you for listening to the First 30. I'm your host, Chad Callahan. And alongside me are the passengers that always need to stop and pee. Tim Harris.
Hello.
David Marino.
It was all the Gatorade.
And Rick Weirdbeard Hogerhide.
My bladder, it's so small. Like, I only have a little bit of time. Drive a little bit. I got to empty it back out again.
I don't know what it is about, like, road trips and, like, I don't know, maybe movies. I'm always like a camel in a certain aspects. But, like, I'm at home. When I'm at home, I'm pee like 15,000 times. I don't know what it is about it. But, like, just the sense that there's a bathroom nearby, like, my brain's
it's
like,
the convenience.
Maybe that's what it is.
It's the home field advantage is really what it is. You're just comfortable there.
Well, it's always that, too, where, like, I'm, like, the closer, when you, like, kind of gotta go, but you're like, I can make it home, right? And then you like walk through the door. The minute you walk through the door, it's like, you got 10 seconds. You got 10 good seconds, and then these pants are ruined. All right. So I don't know. I always had that problem. It's always like the minute I walk in that door, like if I have to go.
We're getting up there now, so you might end up
always
losing
had
that
that
battle
problem.
one day. You got to be careful.
Yeah, that's fair. I've always had that. I've always had that problem. So yeah, I guess I could only like tempt fate so many times.
Yeah, I got to get over the not wanting to tell people to stop at like a convenience store or something, because like I have that issue where like if I got to pee and like I don't want to inconvenience people, I will just sit there and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm dying. And I'll just sit there.
Yeah. Keeper does that
awful.
too, where he won't tell me he has to pee, and then like, or like he has to go to the bathroom, and he'll just like suffer until we like get to a place where he like finally can go. I'm like, why did you just tell me? Like, I wouldn't care. I don't know. Anyways, welcome to the First 30. And as we always do, we always play a little mini game at the beginning of this podcast. So we're going to play the survival of the fittest. And we're going to pair up against one item versus the other to see which is the more superior item to keep in your backpack or, I guess, inventory. Rick has a bunch of options for us. He'll take us through it.
Yes, and this is all in honor of the game that we played today, Pacific Drive, which is a kind of like creepy survival game.
It's like a horror survival driving.
Yeah, it's interesting.
A lot of
but
things.
One of the things in there is that you have a backpack with items that you have to fill. So when you have limited space, you have to decide which item are you going to take. So I'm going to give you some items, and then you tell me which one you would prefer to put into your backpack if you only had space for one. So the first one is a gun versus a knife. Which one are you taking with you?
Okay. That's tough because knife lasts longer. I mean, unless it has durability, right?
Yeah, but a gun is scary, man.
That's true. You're limited. You're limited with a gun because you always have to find ammo unless you're cheating. Resident
Plus,
Evil
a knife would be useful for other things.
Yes.
Right.
Gun really only does one thing.
Yeah, but it does it cool as shit, man.
Just like smack them upside the head.
The scary factor goes out the window if you're dealing with monsters. They ain't gonna be too scared of that.
That's true. They ain't afraid of guns.
Dudes maybe, but like dudes are also afraid of a knife because I'm infinitely more afraid of a knife coming at me than a gun. Okay,
that's fair.
Yes.
You know what? I don't know, Tim. You're saying knife?
I'm picking knife 100% because like I don't have to worry about finding ammunition.
Yeah, I'll pick knife.
What? You don't have to find ammunition, and then what?
And you can sharpen it. You can just sharpen it if it gets dull. So
I can shave my face with it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. You swayed me. Knife.
Knife it is. Next one, a grenade versus a first aid kit.
First aid kit.
Yeah,
Pills
first
here.
aid kit.
Every
so
time.
Yeah, take your fucking pills.
It's so tough. I mean, yeah, you'd probably want to take the first aid kit in real life, but just imagine if a bunch of things were coming. You get out of there pretty quick with a grenade.
If it was like, are we talking like one grenade?
A single Uno.
Yeah, first aid kit.
Okay. Well, okay. An incendiary grenade, I might
like if it was a
change
crate
my
of
mind.
grenades, maybe. Or like a grenade kit.
Like at least 3. Usually
if I could
you
open
have
a box and have like 5 or so grenades.
I feel like in Halo, you always had room for 3 grenades, and like that was like your limit. Like then I might change my tune if I had 3 grenades. But yeah, I think one. I think I'm picking health kit 100%.
Next one is wood versus metal. If you had to take some scrap with you, which scrap are you taking?
All right. Notoriously in games, wood's the easiest, lightest of the two.
Yep.
Like if we're worried about weight, which a lot of games that it's either important or it's harder to get. Like
this is going in a backpack.
Yeah. Well, in Fortnite, like you collect wood, metal, and brick, right? But weight doesn't really matter, but it's so much easier to find wood.
It is.
But that's weaker.
It is
I don't know.
weaker. But like, I guess it would depend on what you're using it for, because like wood, yes, I can always repair wood easier than I can metal. And yes, it's going to have less durability, but I can find the materials to fix it easier. So it's a very tough choice.
Well, if you find some metal, you should probably take the metal because you'll always come across wood.
That's fair.
That's fair. That's a good point. You're probably going to have, I don't know. I'm just thinking PAL world where like you put up wood anything and that like is destroyed in 10 seconds. So
yeah, but here's the thing. Have you ever heard of anybody being a wood scrapper? No, it's not worth it. Like you would be a metal scrapper every single time.
You know what? That's true. Metal is a precious resource. I think it's much more important to keep in your backpack versus wood, which you can find anywhere. All right.
All right. Good answer. The next one, food versus a blanket. Which comfort do you prefer?
Okay. If this is real life.
Yeah.
This is real life. I'd rather a blanket. Screw it. I'd rather warm and just starve to death.
Under a blanket?
Yeah. I'd rather be warm and starve to death than be cold.
You know, as you're starving, and your body, eats away your reserves, you will get colder and colder to the point where that blanket's not going to help you.
I'll be like, thank God.
That blanket's not going to help you.
Imagine how much colder it would be.
And our last one is water versus gas. Which precious liquid are you preferring?
I thought you were going to say water versus gas. And I was like,
yeah, which one you taking?
So water versus gas. In this instance where I have the car.
Yeah.
Ooh. David, I don't know. I feel like I'm torn because like water is a precious resource, but gas can take me further to a place that might have more water.
Yeah, I think if we're shifting specifically for this scenario with the Pacific Drive, I'm going to take the gas because apparently we can just teleport back to base.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like I'd rather find gas to get me back and just have whatever water we have at the garage.
That's true. We don't even need water. We got plenty of Neptune ice.
It's all over the fucking place.
It's all over. So we don't need water.
In real life, though, I'd take the water 100%.
I think.
I don't know if I was in that situation. I might take the gas anyway.
Nope.
I think I'd take the gas to try to get as far out of there as possible.
Did you see a stream anywhere over there? No. I
would take the gas so I would no longer have to deal with the situation.
Solve the
gas
problem
gets me like a mile.
Solve the problem.
Solving the problem.
Today we're playing a sci-fi horror adventure and the best 7-Eleven road trip simulator I've ever seen. This is Pacific Drive.
The Olympic Peninsula, the crown jewel of the Pacific Northwest. Its unmatched views and quiet solitude offer everything you need in the most beautiful place on Earth.
There is no cause for alarm. Take shelter in the closest pocket of stability in your area, and please refrain from thoughts or memories of home.
The chain of events were in plain sight. Strange accidents leading to the government's claim of eminent domain and subsequent seizure of the peninsula. The evacuation of 100,000 people, and the attempt and abject failure at containing the rumors that spread like wildfire.
10.
It was hours before Arthur came to extract us.
9. Some zone secrets are best left secret. 8. 7.
I don't even look up at the sky anymore.
6.
Was she a myth, martyr, or monster?
5.
Nothing had more potential than limb technology.
4.
And look what it did to the Olympic Peninsula.
3. 2. 1.
I have the distinct honor to introduce to you the American people. A new scientific frontier where the raw power, the potential is limitless. On this day, Welcome. Our Faraday future.
Like we mentioned, we were playing the game Pacific Drive in this scenario, which is like, it's so many different things. It's like a survival game. It's kind of like an adventure game. It's a driving game. It's a little mix of a lot of different things. So it's really hard to put your finger on it.
Mhm.
But I wanted to talk to Tim quickly because he's the world building master. And I really wanted to get his opinion on, there's a lot going on, and you kind of just like, when you're kind of thrown into it, you just start driving, and then like it just builds from there. You get little prompts here and there. How do you feel like the world building is going in this game? Do you like it? Do you think it's too on the nose? Do you think it's not enough at the beginning?
I think it's too much at the beginning. It's one of these games where they just kind of give you everything through exposition through a radio, and like I personally generally prefer world building that requires you to do a little bit
Like
of
search.
research on your own, or just even just subtle little hints here and there. Like even if they had not told us stuff about the instability and we just saw all this crazy stuff happening and didn't know what it was, it would make it more interesting to find out if they didn't just immediately tell us what that was. So I like the world building, but it is just too in your face, 100%.
Yeah, because all the talking is through like a radio that you find in your car.
I think you said it's BioShock syndrome. Like, it's just different people talking in my head all the time like I'm a crazy person.
Which is nice to hear different voices. I think my one like good thing about that is like, sure, I'm getting a lot of exposition, but I'm doing something. Like, it doesn't stop me in my tracks. Hey, listen. And like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm stuck having to read or figure out what's going on or watch a cutscene. No, I'm still doing something. So like I could passively listen, which I'm sure as a viewer, because you guys were watching me play versus like actually playing with me, I was like passively listening. So it like was easier to digest. I think it'd be really annoying as a viewer to like constantly hear them talking about stuff and just taking what I was wanting out of it. I don't know.
I think it's nice. It is. And like, because it happens, it's like in the present, they're talking to you and like including you in.
They're not telling
like,
you about
what
the
is
past.
going on.
Yeah.
Not only it's like not like, you're not picking up a bunch of random scraps of paper and listening to tapes, without like every other game like this survival game does. Like, I found a bunch of fucking documents and like this is what's going on in the world.
There's always some guy who's like, log, this is probably the last time you're ever gonna hear from me. If someone finds this.
Like some of that's fine. You want to sprinkle a little of that in, that's okay. But when that's like the only way you're getting information about this world, I fucking hate that.
Also, I will say the acting was not bad. Like, even though it was talking, it was not just grating. Like, it was even one of the things that always happened in Borderlands was you'd have to listen to so much claptrap dialogue. You're just like, oh my God, like, please be quiet. While they yapped, they weren't having it be an annoying character that is trying to be funny the entire time or anything.
I think it was helpful that they had multiple characters too, instead of just one, like you said, claptrap constantly talking to you and trying to give you that exposition. It's just one character just like, oh, look what I found. Let me tell you about it. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, look at that over there. And you know what I mean? It gets kind of annoying where they had like back and forth and they were even talking. I liked one thing where you could tell the characters kind of had history.
Oh, like, the background. Ooh, the sexy background.
Like, you could tell like they like maybe they knew each other.
There was some tension
in the past. Yeah, like there's some sexual tension maybe. So I think that helped it a little bit to make it seem more interesting versus it being just like, let me tell you what's happening. So.
It makes it feel more realistic and like it helps the world feel a little bit more lived in when the characters actually like interact with each other instead of just you, for sure. So big plus.
I agree. Now, I guess the next question comes down to what are the influences? We talked a little bit about Borderlands and things, but like as far as like the basic gameplay, like where do you feel like these
X-Files?
Oh, okay. There's a little X-Files feel there. I'm trying.
X-Files was set in Portland. Like it was set in the Pacific Northwest. Not like Portland specifically, but like the Pacific Northwest.
In that area?
Yeah.
I never watched. I think I've watched a single episode of X-Files.
Hold on. Now you're making me Google.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You can tell
I always
me.
got the feeling that it was.
Oh, it's in Maryland. What show am I thinking? Fine. It's not
Twin
set in the
Peaks?
PN. Maybe
Far
Twin
Cry?
It might
I
be
don't know.
Twin
No,
Peaks.
Far Cry is like middle.
Either
of the
way,
night. I don't know.
it's still. I still think X-Files is. I don't know. Like just the.
Fargo is what I
it's
meant.
spooky, but spooky shit just kind of happens. Like they don't have people in your ear being like, "Oh, isn't that weird? What could possibly be happening?" Like spooky shit just starts happening. And you're just like, "Okay, run."
Do I go?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, one thing I think another game influence that this kind of really gives me some vibes of, not necessarily in the style, but in the way that things are moving and that kind of like anti-gravitational feel. Control. There's a lot of this like, I don't know what's happening and I don't necessarily need to know to grasp the severity of the situation. You know what I mean? You're kind of just thrown into the whole situation and you're just kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do, but I need to get the hell out.
Those otherworldly strange events going on. Like, you know, it's a normal place, but then like these incidents just kind of happen.
Yeah. And there's I'm confused if there are people behind it versus like in Control where there are people behind it, you know?
The Control was the Federal Bureau of Control was discovering these incidents and artifacts and things. This seems to be the result of some sort of experiment or maybe probing into another
world,
plane or dimension.
I'm wondering if this can be very Cthulhu-y.
It feels very much like you are exploring the after effect. I'll say like Half-Life. Like Half-Life, a science experiment goes wrong and like you're having to deal with that. But this is like outside of what would be happening there. You're not dealing with the incident itself. It's like after or just like the effects of said incident.
Well, it's interesting too because you start out the game and you're like I think a driver of like a delivery truck. And you're driving in to deliver something, and then weird stuff just starts happening, right? So I'm confused to figure out if something happened within this area. No one knows about it other than the people within that area and maybe the government or whatever they're trying to say caused it. Or they kept like referencing at the very beginning, like stuff happened. And I don't know if like the whole world knew this thing happened, kind of like a Chernobyl event or what.
We got transported somewhere. We are on a different
dimension,
plane, or like a separate dimension, like the mirror dimension from Doctor Strange, where it's like kind of the same, but you're outside
you're
of normal
this
reality.
Is a completely different reality altogether.
We're in like an instanced world away from normal reality.
You're on the other side of the event horizon of this thing.
They were clearly doing research on this. They knew what was going on, and it got out of hand.
Yeah,
because we're kind of like looting all of these RVs and science monitoring stations and stuff like that. But yeah, we are not in where we came from.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
I was about to say, David, you missed your opportunity.
Okay. We're in the Pacific Northwest. Anyways, some of the basic gameplay of it, let me just take you through real quick. So majority is 50-50 between driving and kind of like a first person like looter kind of thing. It's not you're kind of going through and doing the typical survival thing. You're finding items so you could craft other like bigger items. You're trying to go through and find health and, you know, things to fix your car. And then the other side of it is you're driving from A to B. You're trying to get to like a specific point so you can like, I guess, defeat the level or get through the level, it seems like it. Because it's not necessarily a continuous like open map. It's more of like you have a hub and then you have to do something, defeat that level, and then come back to your hub and then continuously go out, because there's no like driving to the level. It doesn't seem. It's more of like transport you to level, then you go.
Yeah, and we also have to mention that the setting again is the Pacific Northwest, right? So this all that we experienced, at least so far, was very PNW, and that it's just these big lush green forests that you're sort of driving through. Nice. Like there's fog and it elevation. It's not just flat like Midwestern garbage. Like it has scenery here and stuff like that. But that's when we talk about levels. It's just essentially this giant map, as if you were going on a road trip through the Pacific Northwest, and big windy roads and stuff like that with all kinds of different points of interest along the way. Like we found that abandoned
liquor store kind of?
Yeah, liquor store, gas station, whatever it was.
Big Dan.
Yeah, Big Dan's.
Yeah.
And we, you were able to stop and loot and do stuff like that. So it seemed like there was plenty of other stuff to do when you're getting out of the car. It's not just gathering things out of chests or anything.
Yeah. Although a majority of it is like find stuff, put in car, find stuff, put in car. I think that was the one thing that I had a hard time with is like I would drive like two seconds and then I'd be like, ooh, let me get out again. And I get back in my car, drive 2 seconds. Oh, let me get out here again. I think that was kind of annoying. The one thing that was also kind of interesting, and I didn't get it right away. Actually, Tim had to, or Rick, maybe it was Rick that had to tell me, you have to turn on the car and turn off the car because it seems like there's like gas. I don't know if there's battery, but there's definitely like gas. And I think the longer the car sits on, the more gas you waste. Maybe there's battery too. I didn't see an indicator.
There is battery because there were options to make battery unlimited that were default off.
Oh, you're
so there
right.
definitely is battery.
I just didn't see it on the HUD when we were in there.
Yeah,
it must not be super like easy to find or like not maybe relevant at the moment.
Hopefully there will be crazy engine stuff too. I'm excited.
I bet there is, 'cause you could pop the
there will be,
or pop the hood. I mean, and then like.
Yeah, I mean, Chad completely took the engine out of the car.
On accident.
So you can,
I did
you'll be able
that.
to replace that with something else.
Yeah, get a Hemi or whatever fancy terms that they put to say.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, all the
Hemi.
end game stuff is probably going to be whatever this limb tech is.
Yeah. There's so many different things on there. Like you literally could like deck out your car, it seems like, with different doors, different interiors, different like just items. Tires, like I'm assuming like maybe like eventually there might be snow tires if you go to like a snowy area, maybe. I don't know if that's gonna matter. But yeah, there's like a lot of like customization. We all know how I love me a customization moment. I think some of it's more of like actual useful things. Like it's gonna be like, okay, you need this item. It's like stronger than this item, maybe it seems like. But I'm hoping that there's like a little bit of customization as well in there, but it's tough to tell. There was a lot of items for us to unlock. Although I don't know how to unlock it. I don't know if that's something where we find those blueprints.
Yeah, there's blueprints.
I'm sure some of it's going to be finding blueprints. Some of it might just be picking up things in the world. Some of them will be, you're going to be sent on a mission to go get something.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Because the one thing, there's another part of it where you have a couple tools that you get and you find blueprints for those tools as well. Like we found the blueprint for the impact hammer, which I didn't realize all your tools have a durability. So my saw exploded in my face. Scared the crap out of me.
And it seems really low.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm assuming that there might be upgradable. I'm hoping upgradable like tools. Like
you have
better
versions. Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah. Or it's like, I don't know. There's maybe like multi-tools or something like that. So you could do multiple things. But there's like a ton of different things in this where like you
or
can
even
scrap
just
items.
a version, right now we're using the crappy versions of all the tools. Like if we can unlock one that when it breaks, like you can repair it.
Yeah.
I'm sure
like
there's going to be a
pickaxe
repair thing eventually
axes.
for sure.
Yeah, we're literally just using the like Five Below or the Family Dollar version of everything right now. So.
It's got duct tape on. Actually, that's something I find really funny. And when you repair your car, you literally get this like shellac that you just kind of slap onto the car and it just magically repairs your car, which is hilarious to me.
It's a ghost shellac.
Yeah, well, I mean, they keep reference the car as a remnant, which is like important or like magical to this world, I guess. So, and then they keep like hushing over the fact that it's remnant. I'm sure that's going to be a big pivotal moment and important part, but I'm really excited to see where this game goes as far as like the world building. So we'll see where it happens. Also, a quick reminder, if you are listening to this podcast, you could also find this podcast on YouTube as well, and you could look at our beautiful faces, or, just put it on the background, and, help our YouTube algorithm figure out what.
Second monitor Andes are appreciated around here.
We love a lurker. Come on there. But you can go to youtube.com/@first30podcast. That's first, the 30 podcast. But all right. We went through what the game was like. We went through some world building, went through a lot of different things. I think we had nice things to say overall about it. But I want to talk about the things we didn't like about it. Some open grievances, if you will.
The only reason this one's pressing is because we just played this game. Tim joked about this, and he said he wanted to take Dramamine as if he was getting it car sick. I actually was getting a little car sick there.
Were you?
Oh, a little.
I will admit, I thought about it. Actually, that's something we didn't talk about at the beginning. There are a lot of options for you to mess with. There's modifiers to help the game be easier or harder if you really want it to be. And then there's also options to prevent motion sickness. And a lot of it's bobbing in particular.
Yeah, dog. I'm serious. I was starting to get a bit of a cold sweat going on back here.
I don't know. I didn't want to ruin the immersion, but there's also an option. And I imagine when the car was flying away when the world started throwing my car into the air, you can close your eyes when you start taking tumbles instead of having your eyes open, quote unquote. So
Please.
You just go to black screen.
Please.
Yeah. So that would help probably people who get motion sick or have a tough time with fast movements. So if it would just take that moment away and just go to black screen or something. I don't know exactly what. And then cut back to it.
Can I quickly tell you something? My dad used to get so motion sick playing Echo the Dolphin. And it was the fun.
Really? Stop. That's the literally end of that sentence. It is the best sentence I've ever heard.
Oh, man.
He would always, I guess, kid me didn't understand, but I'd always just beg him. I'd be like, Dad, I really want to play this game because I didn't fucking get it. I was too dumb. And so I was like, I need an adult to help me play this game because, it's incredibly difficult. I don't understand what to do here. And
that's so funny.
So I'd always try to make my dad play it, and he would get so fucking sick every single time. It was just, I don't know. All right, I'm sorry.
No, I love that.
Great.
That's the best. That's the best clip we've ever had because that opening line, crying, laughing. I don't even know where. Does anyone else have any grievances? I think the biggest grievance. No, that got me. That was worth every moment. I think my biggest grievance was actually something I mentioned earlier. Is I think there's too much stop and go. And I do understand that the stop and go is optional. You could drive past it. But you put something in front of me that I could loot, I'm going to stop. I'm going to loot it. And the problem with that is every single time, you don't have to do it every time. Rick kept yelling at me to keep the car running. But my paranoia was well, if I keep the car running, I'm going to run out of gas.
Somebody could steal the car.
Yeah, because you go, stay by the car, please. So you have to not only do you have to put the car into park, you have to shut off the engine and open the door, get out of the car, go over, loot your stuff, put it in the trunk because you don't have enough backpack space, get back in the car, close the door, start the engine, take it out of park, and then drive.
Jeez.
It was a lot. It was a lot of little things. I kept forgetting them as we went. I'm sure it'd probably get faster and easier, but it was just kind of more annoying to be okay, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. I wish there was just a little bit more distance, which is something that blows my mind because most games I'm always it's too far. It's just too much driving in Final Fantasy 15 of it all.
Yeah.
But I think this one's quite opposite. I think I would like to space out my leisurely drive and stop and go more. And we didn't mention this, but there are also enemies that, at least the ones that we saw, who will if they detect you, they will hook you with a magnetic thing and just launch you into a tree and
drag you out.
It was great.
And destroy your car, and you have to go out and fix your car with shellac again or whatever. But I don't know. That was my biggest gripe, was just constantly having to get out of my car and go back in the car. And I don't know. That was just kind of obnoxious.
Well, I wonder too, because most, if not everything that you can control in the car is contextualized in your first person's view. You have a lever to turn on the windshield wipers. You have a lever to turn on the lights. You can interact with all the maps and buttons on your little dashboard.
With the
right. I wonder how
lights.
much of that you can keyboard shortcut. So like there's a keyboard shortcut for the wipers. There's a keyboard shortcut for the lights. Can you like get in the car and just hit like button to ignite,
boop,
button
boop,
to put in drive? Just sitting here. You don't have to look at everything. You can just like finger memory it, like boop, 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 boop. Okay, we're going.
I didn't see it as an option. Like, because the only reason I knew about the lights and the wipers is because it told me, and I don't remember seeing an option. Like, it didn't tell me that unless I missed it and I wasn't paying attention, which is very possible. But I mean, I had to constantly do that. But it would be more convenient to do that. Although I wish it was just like a one button. I might macro it, where it's like press this button and it just turns both on.
I think it adds to the panic though,
the
like,
realness.
Yeah, because there's moments where it's like, oh, get in the car, you gotta jiggle it and then put it into drive and stuff like that. You got
the horror movie thing, like the car won't start. Oh, come on,
there was some really funny moments. I'll say, like if as someone who is like making a video behind it. It's really funny. It adds to the atmosphere. But as like a casual player, I don't know. Like, do I need it? Like, I just want, like, I don't know. Would you care?
I could see it being a thing that's great if you turn off the "I'm safe when the car doors are closed" thing. And
that's
something
right.
bad's going on, because that would add so much tension to that moment. It's ridiculous.
There is a modifier to turn off that you're safe when the doors are closed. I don't know what that means.
It's the bitch mode. We don't use those.
I don't know. But do we have any other open grievances that we want to air out?
I've got a minor one.
All right. Okay. Minor grievance.
So my biggest grievance with this game is that it's a survival game. It is just not a genre that ever appeals to me on its own, generally speaking. There's a couple of games out there that definitely jump that hurdle. It's debatable whether this will be one, because it does seem just like your typical survival game. You walk around, you pick stuff up, you go craft things that are going to break in 2 seconds, so you got to go grab the stuff again, go build it again, it breaks again, and you continue that cycle. This looks like it's going to break it up enough to keep my interest without friends, because most survival games, in my opinion, are only good if you can play them with people, because you can just do dumb shit.
Yeah.
Like this, it has to like have that World. Proper grip, and I think the car might have it, but I'm not sure. So it's debatable, but like that's my main gripe, is like it's a survival game, and just
based on some of my like the trailers I've watched, it does seem like the driving does break that up a bit, because it looks like there's going to be moments where you have to like get away quick. Like we did have one of those situations already where I turned on something and then like it Fortnited me, like where I had to get out of the border. And like I was dying and David's telling me I'm dead, but I got it. I lived.
I lived, bitch.
All right.
It's just hard to break out of that monotony of survival games. But based on what I've seen, it does look like it might break it up enough. But I'm gonna.
It looks like each level, and I'm just basing this. I'm basing this on only playing one. But it looks like each level has like some type of end. Like big ending, like you have to either escape or like do something big or like maybe fight off enemies. I don't know.
It's the like the poster behind David. It is a what are they called? The events in Left 4 Dead crescendo event or whatever.
Crescendo event.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. The crescendo event of every level, which I appreciate. I think that's what makes Left 4 Dead like such a good game, is that they always have those big events after every act, or what do they call it in Left 4 Dead?
Yeah, they're called the acts,
Are they acts in the game?
The acts. Well, because you generally get a crescendo event in every act, and then the campaign ends with the finale.
Yeah. So like I have a feeling this is going to follow that like line of thinking with this one. And well, the interesting thing about the survival part that Tim mentioned is like usually most survival games like, okay, I'm making food, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like the entirety of this game is fix your car, fix car or advance your car, which I kind of think is kind of cool. Yeah, and heal yourself. Which the one thing I get really excited about is like instead of just now I found shovel, now I can dig. It's like now I found plasma, like whatever I'm gonna put on my car. You know, I don't know what we're gonna do with these things. So that kind of excites me. I'm turning this into the Back to the Future car. What is that thing called?
DeLorean.
The DeLorean. Thank you. So there might be some fun things there. I don't know. David, do you have a grievance you would like to share?
Not really. I mean, I could see a lot of the things early game turning into grievances if I'm still dealing with them, like mid to late game.
Yeah.
The looting doesn't really bother me all that much because it all almost exclusively goes into repairing and making your car better instead of needing to like worry about your survival. You're like fixing your mode of transportation.
Food or water.
I love that each kind of section of the world it sends you out into has an objective. So like you're doing that while like fixing your car, you're working towards that in each area. And I think something that we probably should bring up that didn't really have a spot to put it in yet is that it is not a just full open world. Like you have these areas that you go and explore. They're large. They're not just like a small little area, but
it's not like an Assassin's Creed map.
Yeah, you go to an area, do it, and then go back to the base where I'm assuming you would pick a different, or maybe you can go back to that same area, or you pick a different area to go and explore. But the fact that each time you go out, you have an objective. It's not just like, oh, I'll go explore this area, pick up a bunch of shit, and then just decide to come home. Like you're doing something. There's something you're trying to accomplish while you're going about making your car better, fixing it up, dodging whatever those weird flying wrecking balls are.
Yeah. Which I agree. I think I like the fact that it limits you. That's something that survival games, I think, struggle with, is that they always want to make it open world. And it's like, okay, I don't mind an open world concept, but sometimes I feel not overwhelmed, but I feel like the option to just let me go up that mountain because my ADD says go up there.
Yeah.
Versus just like objective is big round blue circle. Like I like shiny things. I'm going to go towards the blue circle. You know what I mean?
Well, the other thing too with those open world survival games is you're always leashed. You're always tethered to wherever you've decided to plonk your base down. Yeah. Without, I think like Fallout 76, I guess kind of tried to fix that where they have the camp where you can pick it up and like take it with you somewhere else. But most other survival games, like you put yourself down, you set up your base of operations where you have all of your good stuff. And then every time you make an excursion, that's time that you're going to have to working back to your base.
Yeah.
Do you think,
and like,
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, not only is that alleviated by having a decent mode of transportation in the car, you don't, like when you're done with an area, you're done with that area. You just go back to your base, which is a fixed point outside of the adventure areas.
Ricky, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to give one other like small, tiny grievance if I did have to give one, is that when we started the game, there was music playing, right? Like there was that kind of rock music. Oh, because I was going to say.
Turn out the radio.
You killed my vibe. I was going to say, I wish that there was some music that had been playing, but that's a you guys. That's a driver issue, not a game issue. So I can't blame
me. So that's actually a good point because if you wanted to stream this game, for example, there is a streamer mode, which I turned on, but then like when I started the game, it asked me, do you want to customize the settings? I was like, I already did. So then I got paranoid that I didn't. So that's why I turned off the radio. But two, it was also kind of hard to hear you guys because there was like vocals in the music. Like they would sing a little bit. And I was like hard to like differentiate voices in my head and play the game at the same time. So I turned it off. But yeah, you can turn on music on the radio. I don't imagine that there's radio or music outside, except there was a little ambient music here and there.
Yeah,
like
we would hear music.
Like the scary creepy music.
Like the groaning and the...
Yeah, there's like random sound and creepy like screams out in the distance. You don't know where they're coming from.
That's why I wanted music, because it would have made it a lot more like less tension filled.
Less scary.
Yeah.
Nah, that's what we strive for. We all scary all the time. But quickly, I want to see, Rick, do you think the intentions are there with this game? Do you think they hit all of what was promised? Because I feel like this game had some hype, a little bit of hype behind it when it first kind of had its first trailer.
Yeah, it had a good amount of hype. I would say for the purpose of what we experienced, I mean, we did like 2 hours, right? And
About an hour and a half, 2
hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah. It, like I always say, my perfect beginning is Resident Evil 4, right? Like you get a short little cutscene, you get out, you interact, and then you find that zombie in the first house, and then it's like, hey, game on.
I get it.
And then exactly. And then right after that, you go into the main town, right? We essentially completed one like loop. It's not a roguelike, but we went to an area, returned back to a base, right? An hour and a half, 2 hours, it gave some, but it feels like there's so much more that just, I don't know how much farther in you have to get before you really start peeling back layers. This isn't something that's a quick instant dopamine rush, like a hi-fi rush, right? Where you start the game and it's like fucking sugar blast right at your face and you get all the dopamine you could ever want. This is for sure more true detective than it is like Teen Titans Go.
I think too, the tutorial was just so front loaded with all the stuff we had to do in the garage.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that
like
did
now
take
that
away
we have the
things.
ability, like now we go back to the garage. Okay, pick an area. Okay, go and like loot this, find this, do this mission. I mean, there might even be sub objectives because
we were
there
about
were like
to
two
get a
separate
whole
things.
nother tutorial at the garage. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, I'm sure we were.
Yeah.
She did tell. Well, I think anytime we get a new item, there's going to be some type of like, here's how to use it kind of thing. Because there's a lot of like, I will say, there's a lot of. It's a little bit overwhelming when you first open the game because there's just a lot of things to look at and try to figure out. You open your like inventory backpack thing and there's like 15 different tabs, maybe not that many, like 6 tabs, but there's like 6 tabs. But even in those tabs, there's like a lot of information. And then you're like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Like, I need a moment to just digest this. But I think they do an okay job of like only pointing out what's necessary in that moment. Like, you don't need to know what all this stuff is yet. We'll tell you eventually, and I think that was pretty nice of it. But the main story, supposedly, to beat this game is 19 and a half hours. If you do all the extra bits, 35 hours.
Oh my God.
And a completionist is roughly 39 hours. So like if you really wanted to, like, you could get a lot of time out of this game if you really want to just sit there and play through it. So like for those who like those really like long, like lore heavy, like I'm just exploring and doing fun things, like this is kind of a game for you. And for $29.99,
not
bad. That's a deal. Like I know I don't like to equate time and money all the time, but for games like this, I do feel like I have to equate it a little bit because like a lot of it is like search and doing stuff.
I think especially now, especially with the absolute hell that this generation of consoles has wrought upon game prices. Anytime a game is out, whether it launches with a discount, whether, it's early access and they're not charging the full amount yet, anytime you can say, hey, this game is less than $60, like, bring that up. That is so good to hear.
Yes. Yeah.
Like even if it's $40,
and
$40 or $50, drop it a little bit because Alan Wake didn't do a digital or didn't do a physical release, so they keep pricing it cheaper. Anytime something like that happens, like bring that up because that's a really good thing to highlight.
And for like less than half the price of most games, and you're getting like a solid game. Like it looks great.
And this isn't great. This isn't early access, right? This is
full release.
Full release.
Yeah, that's
like
great.
So I mean, they do have like a deluxe edition for like $5 more. I don't know what it gives
come
you.
With the soundtrack?
It's an art book and a soundtrack guaranteed.
It's
always that.
Okay. So if you want that stuff, and to be fair, like it's a pretty game. Like the game itself, it's in the Pacific Northwest. Like what I mean? Like it looks
good.
Like it. It looks good. Like they do a good job. But all right, let's get into the final say. Will we continue this game? Since I played the game, I will be going last. So we will start with Tim, the hater of survival games. You need to get this out. Will you continue?
It's super tough for me to like say yes on this kind of game because like it takes a lot from a survival game to like hook me because they all play exactly the same. This one to its credit, seems like it is a very different kind of beast when it comes to survival games because you are limited in scope and you do have objectives. So like my thing is, I think this game would be better as like a heavy exploration, just story driven adventure. Because it seems like it's going to have really fun world building. But we're kind of there since they do give you the objectives and you kind of choose your path and so I feel like it has enough to make me say I would play this, and it is $30. So I honestly think I would give this one a shot. It seems like it'll hold my attention. It's not a game that I'm going to have to spend 700 hours grinding out, got to get the big rocks on this one. I don't feel like it's going to have that. So I think, I would continue this game.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. The grind isn't there in this, where like a lot of survival games have that like grind of finding everything you need. Like Pal World really has that grindy feel and that kind of survival aspect.
And so does Valheim, the game I love the most in the survival genre. Game. The grind is horrible, but
to its credit, Valheim does a lot. Not necessarily a lot like this, but like it gives you clear objectives. I feel like that's
the whole thing with that game. The progression's fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's why
where the forest doesn't. It just plops you in there and you're just like, okay. And then you stumble upon things, which I guess in some cases is still kind of fun, but I guess it depends on what you're going for. Rick. All right. Would you continue?
Yes. I think I'm an enthusiastic yes on this one. I think that there's, it was, I had a lot of anxiety from it.
Because you weren't playing. You didn't have control. You like to be in the driver's seat.
Exactly. And I did, like I said, get a little motion sickness. But if there's the ability to change things out, then I definitely think that this has enough like vibe to want to see what's more. And again, like 19 hours, because I'm not a completionist. I'm not going to do all the crazy other shit. Like
I do it one or two.
Yeah, if it's there, it's there. But if not, like I think I could play this for 19 hours. Not 40, but 19 definitely.
Yeah, I feel you there. Like I could see like let me play the next level and then like play a level and be like, I had a good enough time with that. Let me.
Thanks so much. Like
All right, David, will you continue?
This looks great. Just the core loop of going around finding stuff, doing whatever the objective is. It has a checklist. I love a checklist. Like you pull up your inventory and it's like you have the garbage door and then like blank spaces for all the other doors you can get. It's like, I'm going to get all those other doors. I'm going to find every single one of them and put them on my car. And plus, I think this game, as far as I know, because I mean, how many are there really? I have yet to play a bad game set in the Pacific Northwest.
Ooh, good call.
I don't know how many there are. I couldn't think of a single other one. So.
Alan Wake,
Infamous Second Son, Life is Strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
All these games are set in the Pacific Northwest, and they every single one
banger after banger here.
Great. Yeah, but so I will probably pick up this game sometime soon.
I mean,
after I'm done with what I'm currently working on.
$26.99's 10% early.
But this looks like a great time.
Yeah. All right. We got 3 out of 4. Will
we clear
I be the
4-4?
villain? Will I continue my villainous streak? I've been pretty bad lately.
You keep hyping that up, that villain arc, and that was the lamest villain arc when we were presenting our games to you.
I know. I felt my problem with the next best thing is like I didn't get like a look at, like I didn't physically get a look at it myself. I got just based off trailers. So I feel like I'm much more villainous when we actually play the game.
When we play it.
Yeah. So I was like a soft villain. I was that like that villain that everybody likes. I'm like the Ursula. You know
okay.
Yeah. I'm not like the Cruella.
You're the sister in Wicked. Whatever heard the Wicked Witch in Wicked.
Oh, yeah. Alphaba. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Alphaba. 100%. Anyways, sorry, we got off track. Will I continue Pacific Drive? It's a resounding yes. I think there's so much that this game does right for a survival game. And I think Tim hit it on the head where it was just like having that A to B, like I have a mission. I need to do that mission and go back to like square one. I love the fact that I think the biggest thing and that drives me nuts the most, like open world games is like, all right, I did the mission. Now I have to go all the way back to my thing, unless there's like a fast travel, which, some games do that, but many games don't. A lot of survival games don't. And in some ways, this also gives me Rust vibes as well. There's like the whole like scrapping things and trying to find stuff. And like there's something about Rust that is like kind of nice and fun, except it's a whole different environment. And so I find that kind of endearing. So this is just a great game overall. And I think the nice thing between the point of view of like walking around and scrapping versus driving is such a change up to every other survival game I've ever played that I think it's 100% recommend this to anyone who likes survival games or even like just linear games, because it essentially does play like one. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like there's not that open world feel. So
anyone who's having open world fatigue right now, this is probably for you.
Especially on the survival genre.
Yeah.
Also, devs take note. Like, please make more games like this. Let me pick an area and just go to it and come back home.
Well, I was worried at first when you guys told me that there's like, oh, well, then you have to start over. Like, you know what I mean? I thought it was going to be roguelike. I'm roguelike fatigue. All right. I'm also that. Like, I'm open world fatigue, a little roguelike fatigue. I'm tired of both of them. I like this. This feels very contained and purposeful. Like, I think that's the best word I could give this. Everything in this game feels like there's a purpose. Yeah, sure. There's a couple things that like could be better. Is there too much exposition? Yes, 100%. But
I mean, right now in the beginning,
right at the beginning. But at the same time, am I having fun? Yes, and that's all that matters to me. So. Again, if you guys want to pick this up, you can find it on PlayStation 5, and I believe it's on Steam, and it might be on other things on the PC. I know that's for sure on Steam, though. But it's $29.99, so if you want to go pick it up, I highly suggest it. And depending on when this episode comes out, it might also be $26.99 on Steam, which is like, I think it's a pretty good deal, in my opinion.
Great deal.
Great deal. Worth it. 100% worth the price on this, I think, especially for 19 hours of that gameplay.
Yes.
100% in. And so thank you for listening to the First 30. And again, if you want to watch this, you can go to youtube.com/@first30podcast.